Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 11 of From Deep. I'm Luke Jansen with my co-host Phil Wiseman. Phil, say hello.
Glasses are off. I'm here. I'm squinting at the screen. Let's talk some hoops.
Let us do it. We got some fun stuff coming up today. Obviously, we're starting to potentially, tomorrow jumping into the second round of playoffs. Actually, sorry, first game of the East tonight, first game for the West tomorrow. So we are in the second round with some series still wrapping up. But first, you're here, and we know why. You want the From Deep stuff. So let's give it to you. First, we got some rock, paper, scissors. So let's see if I can keep the streak going. I don't know what Phil.
Will I go paper again? That is the question. Will I go paper again?
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, rock.
Paper. Hey, and the paper wins. Oh, you put scissors though.
I said rock, but I had scissors up.
So we're going audio. We are an audio podcast with a visual element. I think I win that. Ladies and gentlemen.
I think it's a half-half.
I know. You let me know in the comment section that I won.
The scissors.
It's okay. He put his hand underneath so you couldn't see, and then pulled up the scissors. So yeah,
I have both. I mean, if you want to win by cheating.
Hey, I've been going paper every time. I'll win.
That's true. Okay. You know what? A gentleman bow. I'll give this to you because I'm the true gentleman here on this podcast. So hit me with your question.
And I am not.
Not a true gentleman at all.
Since you are a gentleman,
LeBron James decision. That's what you're being right now.
Oh no. Wow. I was gonna say, since you're a gentleman, you must like the finer things in life.
Oh.
Do you like the finer things in life?
The finest.
The finest. Okay. As you take a sip of brandy, I think you've got a smoking fire behind you. It's very intimate. Your setting behind you. So. Yes, and a good brandy.
Yes, quite so. This water. It tastes like water though for some reason.
That's weird. I told Danielle to put brandy in there. She didn't listen. That's okay. That's okay. But so you're a man of fine taste. You're a gentleman. You love your fine arts. As I was out today, I saw some lovely street art, and I thought to myself, who would be the best artist in the NBA? I'm talking paint. I'm talking drawing. Because I think you could argue Dame being an artist, being a rap artist.
I was gonna say I don't know if any of them are that creative other than rap. There's some rappers out there. I'm sure there's some creative ones, but okay.
But who do you think would be the best artist, your best painter in the NBA? Who do you think it would be, and why? Of course,
painter. Okay, so we're
specifically talking. We're gonna specific paint. Yes.
Look
Since
this up.
You are a gentleman. You like your finer things. You like your brandy. You got your fire going on in June. You know, sometimes people say in Canada it's summertime, but we got our polar bears in the backyard anyway. So got to make sure that we're warm inside. So yeah, I guess who would be your favorite artist, your favorite painter in the NBA, and who do you think it would be and why?
I'm just currently looking up is there any NBA player that's actually ever been a painter? This is the question. I don't know if I have an answer to it. Google's telling me NBA player, accomplished artist Cauley Stein does some creative work in paint.
Cauley Stein, Willie Cauley Stein.
But it says isn't just a pro basketball player. He's an accomplished artist. In his first season with Dallas Mavericks, Cauley Stein said he's been dabbling in art for 17 years.
Okay, so you're going off the board, Willie Cauley Stein. There you go.
I wonder if there's any pictures here.
We're going to have to use that as our cover if that is the case, and give him his credit, of course.
Yeah, this is like legit. He has like a whole little small article on it from last year.
He's got a little studio, eh? Okay.
I don't see any of his... Oh!
You got one? What kind of art are we working on?
Are
we talking modern? Are we talking is he doing landscapes?
I would love to see him at a turned artist who paints for George Clooney.
What?
Desmond Mason? Really?
Okay, there you go.
Do you remember Desmond Mason? Is that
no?
Played for Seattle. He was like the NBA All-Star dunk contest in 2003, like a legitimate actual good baller.
Huh. And he likes to. Is he a landscape guy? Is he what kind of art are we
looks
talking?
like graffiti, street art.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay.
And he did some stuff for George Clooney.
Wow. Okay, so Desmond Martin, Willie Cauley Stein. I was going from it more like this guy's creative on the court. I think he could be creative with a brush. That was what I was kind of thinking. Like I was thinking like someone like Kyrie who's kind of a little, some people could say
It's interesting.
imaginative, opinionated. See someone like Kyrie being creative with his handles, being creative with a brush. I could see him something like that. Some of these guys too, they do a lot of the shoe design too. Like I know like LeBron's big into like the
Yeah,
shoe design. So
true.
I was thinking someone like maybe someone who's good with creating their shoe. So I was thinking someone like that. So I could see someone being creative, like either a Kyrie or maybe even like a LeBron in that sense. That's what I was kind of thinking. But yeah, interesting to know about Willie Cauley-Stein and Desmond Mason.
There's some true painters out there. That's
Yeah,
but to answer
there you
your
go.
question, obviously, because those ones I
Yeah,
looked up on Google.
yeah.
You know what? Who I think is probably, I don't know if they'd be a good painter, but I would say Baca, just because he just is into fashion. He's got his long
Mhm.
scarves. I think he actually has his own fashion line. He does, actually. I know for a fact he does have his own fashion
Yes,
line. And like I guarantee when he's done in the NBA, that's going to be like his full-time focus. So I'd say he'd probably have some creative stuff in there.
for sure. I feel like Amari was very artsy too. I feel like Amari Stoudemire, he's very much a fashion guy too, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. So there
yeah,
there you
yeah,
have it. This is a great
there you
question.
go.
Great
Look at
question. Now I got to find Willie Cauley-Stein's stuff. I'll do that after the
I
pod.
know.
So my question for you,
Mhm.
if you had, so it's just a game of 3v3, if you had to pick a TV show, real life TV show, which TV show would you put up against each other? So like you're talking, you can't use like cartoons. You'd have to like The Office or Parks and Rec, or you could go serious.
Oh, you're saying like main
Yeah, if you
characters
were to pick
versus.
main characters versus main characters, what TV show would you put up in a 3v3 match?
Ooh,
And if you can't think of three, then just like we do 2v2 or 1v1, whatever.
okay. I think I'm a fan of The Office.
Oh yeah, you have to have The
I
Office.
I think we've got the famous basketball episode from The Office. I think we got Michael Scott, the man who thinks he can do it all. I think he's going to be play like Russell Westbrook. He's just going to think he can do everything and just tries to do everything and goes really hardcore. We got Dwight Schrute, who's going to be being like Chris Paul, tucking your jersey, otherwise that's a technical foul.
Yep.
And then you got Jim Halpert on the wing shooting some trays. I don't know.
I think they played.
That could be.
There is an episode where they played some
Yes,
ball.
that's exactly what I'm referring to. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that'd be one. And then I guess the other kind of show that I would like to see. That's a good question. Who do you have? Do you have another show that could battle The Office?
Well, I was gonna go with The Office, but you took The Office, so that's okay.
Okay.
So I was gonna my battle up against The Office was a prime Everybody Loves Raymond cast
Ooh.
of Ray Romano and so Brad Garrett, his brother.
Yeah.
I forgot. I want to say because I know he's a tall dude. That's the only reason I'm thinking is the big post ups. He was six. He was 6'7". Oh my goodness! I knew he was tall, but he wasn't that tall. Yeah, so he's 6'7". So we got some post up.
Wow.
And then Peter Boyle, who has unfortunately passed away a couple years ago, the dad. I'd throw him in there because he'd be your smack talker.
Okay.
That was like my
I
favorite
think,
show growing up.
everybody. I never really saw that show. I'm also thinking now maybe like How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Because the one main character, the main character's there. I'm just trying to who plays Marshall. He is a massive dude. He's a massive dude. He's got to be like 6'4" or something.
Jason Segel.
Yeah, Jason Segel. Yeah.
1
Then you've got Barney, who's like athletic. You got Ted, who would probably be complaining.
He's
He'd probably
6'3".
be the like
Jason
6'3".
Segel.
Okay, I thought he would have been a lot taller than that. Yeah. So maybe those guys. I could see those guys playing some ball too. I was thinking like the Friends cast too. Joey Chandler and Ross, but I don't think those guys would be good at basketball.
Their TV show.
That would be really entertaining.
They're not a basketball fan, but it would be funny to watch. So those were was gonna be Everybody Loves Raymond versus The Office cast. I would have loved to see it happen.
How do we sim it? How do we sim it? How do we do it?
We just gotta call them up and get a time machine and a couple $1 million in the bank, and we can make it happen.
Make it happen. I like it.
Let us know. Let us know what your TV shows who we pit against each other. Love to know.
Absolutely.
I forgot to put up the From Deep thing again. Man, I'm getting lazy. Episode 11, and it's all falling apart, Phil. We'll throw it up there now.
It's okay. You're the producer. You're doing your thing.
It's all.
We've got it from deep on. Now we can talk playoffs.
Episode 12. Who knows? No, hey,
we're gonna make it.
We got one more insightful question from Deep. You don't even know where we're at anymore.
Oh,
Look, my
I'm lost now
co-host is
too.
falling off. Oh, people, this is
Oh,
why we
we're
only
not
got
making it to
16
12.
subscribers. That's it. We're
We're
falling
not
off, Phil.
making it to
We
12.
passed our
No,
prime at episode 5.
we're done.
All right,
We're
let's
done.
jump into our insightful question, though. It's from deep.
Yeah.
You hear that swish, whoosh. My apologies that wasn't there earlier. But the question is, and it's a big one, what's next for LeBron James? LeBron.
Ooh, it's a good question. I think obviously we were very high on the Lakers. I think both of us. I had them going to the finals. Anthony Davis goes down. They lose to the Suns and a heartbreaker. LeBron was attacking near the end. I was watching the game at the end, and I saw them get within 10, and then him go to the bench. I'm like, they're done. They're not making the comeback and forcing Game 7, which was sad. I think what's next for him? Space Jam. He's not playing in the Olympics. He's focusing all his attention to marketing the movie Space Jam 2, taking on the Toon Squad. I think he made comments as much as well. So it's all about Space Jam, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think the advertising portion, but I mean, I guarantee you his mind is LeBron. Le GM is working in full motion. Dennis Schroeder's definitely not going to be there next year. That's pretty much a guarantee. I mean, he took it out of his Instagram that he's not a Laker. He did it before Game 6. So there's some cap space clearing up there. There's a couple of people coming up as unrestricted free agents. It was clear that LeBron needs some shooters on the team.
Yes.
I mean, if those are wondering, is LeBron done? Absolutely not. He's not LeBron, 6 years ago, but he's still amazing. And really, the only reason they lost that series, and I'll hold to it, is that Anthony Davis was out.
I agree.
I don't think the Suns get by, or at least goes to a Game 7 and it's close. LeBron's just not what he used to be at 37 to be able to carry it. But his role players were probably the worst role players he's had in a long time. Like, nobody showed up. There was, how I mean? Like, we've seen some other series where role players like Austin Rivers on Denver hit like 5 threes to win game 4, game 5. We've seen role players step up on other teams that have just been big. Derrick Rose stepped up and won a game for the Knicks. I know they didn't make it through, but who on the Lakers role players did anything?
Well, Schroeder tried to do some things. They brought him in to try and be a shot creator, but he didn't step up in the limelight, and he turned down a big contract as well during the season. So I wonder if he thinks to regret that move. I guess we'll see as free agency
sure
comes.
The Lakers are happy that that's the case, though. I'm sure they're very happy he didn't sign that now. We were just saying too, we were finding the stats there. It's crazy. Like, LeBron is not done. He's 37. He's got 3 more years in the league for sure. He's waiting to play with his son as long as injuries don't bar him down. As of this year, and he probably would have been higher in some of these other things, LeBron is now top 10 for every stat that exists in the playoffs. Top 10 for every stat that exists in the playoffs. So we'll go over it. Games played first, minutes played first, wins first, plus minus first, points first, steals first, field goals first, free throws first, assists second, threes second, triple doubles second, double doubles fourth, rebounds sixth, blocks 10th.
That's unbelievable.
And I feel like
that's unbelievable.
Rebounds and blocks and double doubles and triple doubles might have even gone up had he got through the first round.
Yeah. Yeah, and second in assists, and he's not a point guard.
No, I know.
Second in threes, and he's not a 3-point shooter. And 6th in rebounds, and he's not a rebounder. That just shows how good of an all-around game he really has.
And it's helped that they've made it to the finals year after year after year. But
100%.
That's also because he got them there. You know what I mean? It's not like, I know people might
100%.
say, well, it's because he's played so many games. Like, well, guess what? The only way to play more games in the playoffs is by winning.
Yeah. And this was his first time that he's lost in the first round of the playoffs, which is a hell of an achievement already when you think about it.
And again, it probably wouldn't have happened had AD not gone down. So
exactly right.
I don't want to take anything away from the Suns. I do think it would have went to a game 7. I think it would have been very close, but I mean, my favorite would have been with the Lakers had AD stayed in. But as you talked about Space Jam, our last thing before we jump into our playoffs here, the Space Jam curse, Phil. Every NBA player to star in 2021 Space Jam, A New Legacy, has their team eliminated in the postseason before the second round of the NBA playoffs.
That's because it's going to happen in real life. It's a live action, Luke. That was just a preview. It's a live action. They wanted to make sure they had it freed up. It's coming out during the final week of the season, right?
Yeah.
I think it's at the same week that the finals is set to go. So that's why it's a live action. We all knew that. Come on.
They had to lose so they could go into the and beat the Goon Squad. Yeah.
Exactly. They're saving the planet. They're saving the planet.
That's
They've
important.
got more
It's
important
important.
things.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's more important, Phil? Talking about the playoffs. So let's do it because there's lots of cool stuff
Ooh,
that's going
baby.
on. Let's get that NBA playoffs, a big wham jam bang. NBA playoffs. Let's talk about it, Phil. There's lots of cool stuff happening. I'm gonna let you take it away with the East, and then I'll take the West.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, let's jump into it.
All right. Well, in our Eastern playoffs, we got the Philadelphia 76ers that beat the Washington Wizards 4-1. I think the most exciting thing that happened during this series that was unexpected, a fan got tackled on the floor. I don't know what all these fans are doing running onto the floor now. And the popcorn thrown at Russell Westbrook. Oh, there we go. That's a tongue twister for you. My God, just a name and you're tongue twisting. That's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, so the Philadelphia 76ers beat the Washington Wizards 4-1. We both had the Sixers winning. I had them in 5. That came true. I think you had them in 5 too. That came true.
You can never count Russell Westbrook out. He'll always get one. He will never get
I think
swept.
the biggest.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he might get swept. But no, I was going to say the biggest thing that probably happened in the series, minus this fan, is obviously Embiid being out with that last game and tearing his meniscus. I think that'll be, well, apparently he's day to day, which to me is stunning that you can have a torn meniscus and be day to day. It must be a very minor tear. I was looking and looking at some stuff and listening to some podcasts this week, and that was the injury that kept him out for the first year when in his rookie season. So before he got to his rookie season, he had a torn meniscus and he didn't play. So for him to be day to day with a torn meniscus to me is crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. We'll just quickly jump over for the Atlanta, New York, and then we'll jump right back to Embiid.
Yeah.
Atlanta, New York. That was Atlanta obviously winning. Was it 4-1, right?
Or 4-2. Oh no, you're right. 4-1. Yes, it was 4-1.
So it's a gentleman's sweep, which I had Atlanta in 7, to be honest. So that was quite remarkable. New York came in with quite the steam, and Atlanta cleaned it up. Now, there's not much I have to say about that series. Atlanta did their things. Really, when you take a look at it, New York had a lot of people who just didn't have any playoff experience, and it showed up continually game after game. And that's pretty much all she wrote.
Yeah, and we both picked the Hawks to win, so it kind of makes sense. And now we've got a second round matchup between the Philadelphia 76ers and Atlanta Hawks. I think it'll be a really interesting series given the matchups that'll kind of be in play. Like Trae Young's going to be against a massive Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
he's got almost a foot on him, I think. And then you've got Tybal as well, that they're going to throw at him. And then I think the most important question that I got written down here is, will the Philly crowd continue the chant of Trae is balding? Trae is balding.
I think Trae Young reminds me of like an Allen Iverson, and like, don't stir the pot. Don't stir the pot. That man will eat it up. There is actually, I saw a TikTok actually today of him in high school, and he did the bow at the end. He won, like, it was a tournament, or I don't know what the game, and he gave the bow, and then it sparked right over to him in New York giving the bow, and it's like he's always been the villain, and he feeds off that stuff. So if Philly knows any better, don't stir the pot with that guy. If anything, just be quiet. That'll make him more cold than feeding into him with chirping. And what I was going to say to pull back to Embiid, because I didn't want to run that off.
Of course.
The reason I just wanted to talk about that is this is probably the best case scenario that Philly is now, second round against Atlanta. Atlanta's still a solid team, but definitely a chance for him to rest, because if they were up against Milwaukee or Brooklyn, he'd be sorely missed.
Yeah, and I think what I was listening to today, a couple people were saying that a torn meniscus at least is typically a 3-week heal if you don't go for surgery. So if he manages to play this series, then it'll be tight. But even if he doesn't, it's a 3-week heal. So you wonder what percentage he's going to be for Philly. And can Atlanta upset 76ers? Who do you got for this series? Do you got the Hawks winning? Do you got Philadelphia winning? Who do you think's going to win this?
So in my pick'ems, I actually put Philly in 5. Now that was with a healthy Joel Embiid. I
Hmm.
do still think the 76ers are very deep with a ton of defensive rotations to kind of shut down Atlanta because they don't have a ton of scoring. It's kind of from one person. They got a ton of rotations. I mean, look, we're going to talk about the Clippers later, but they've been doing a bajillion rotations on Luka, and Luka's a far better player than Trae Young right now, and Luka's killing it. I don't think Trae Young's going to be putting up 40 a night for
Be tough.
Atlanta. I all respect to Trae Young. I think his game is going to grow and he's going to become an amazing point guard, and he already is starting to show that. But if I just don't think he's going to be able to, due to height restrictions already. Like, yeah, it's
Hmm.
going to be a tough matchup. I would still say I probably have Philly. Probably say Philly, and still I'd probably hold it at 5. I think Philly's here to take care of business this year, and they got a ton of. They showed that when Joel Embiid was out, that they could still win a lot of games, and Atlanta, I don't think, has the depth.
I think it'll be a really interesting series. I'm on the fence with this one, honestly. I feel like the Hawks could upset them, depending on how Trey plays. But I think Philly's got such good defense. That's where I'm really torn. I could see Hawks in 6, but I could also see 76ers in 5. I think I lean closer to where you are with the 76ers winning this game. When Embiid went down earlier and they just played with Simmons, I think a couple of years ago, they went on a 16-game winning streak or something. So
Yeah,
I think the 76ers will play well. They'll probably spread out the floor, allow Simmons to kind of facilitate, drive, and kick. So I think the 76ers will win as well.
and
I'll say 5 too.
they have a great backup in the center with being able to throw in Dwight Howard.
Yes.
You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Look, he's not Joel Embiid, but I'm saying like it's not like Denver where when Jamal
Hmm.
Murray went down, and congrats to the Denver point guards for playing so well, but like they're going to struggle as they come up against harder and harder teams. And
For
Dwight
sure.
Howard is a very serviceable center in the league. And they have some great rotations in there as well to back him up with some guys off the bench. So they're very prepared to fill that role. And there's a lot of other people that will take over the scoring.
100%. Anything else to add in this series before we jump to the next ones?
No, let's do it. Let's jump to the next one.
Yeah, so next series that we've got coming up is Brooklyn versus Milwaukee. But that being said, let's just chat about quickly what happened in the first round. So Milwaukee beat Miami 4-0. We spoke about that last week. If you want to go back and listen to it, Milwaukee really took it to Miami and absolutely won the series. Anything to add with that, or do you just want to move on to what happened with Brooklyn Boston?
The state of the Jimmy Butler seeking a max, which is interesting.
Oh, he wants an extension, eh? That's
Yeah,
interesting.
so we'll see what
Okay.
happens there because he didn't really
Yeah,
prove anything in the playoffs this year, but he also killed it last
no
year.
kidding.
So we'll see. That's
Yeah, I
it.
guess we'll see.
That's all I have to add for that.
Yeah, and then we've got Brooklyn, Boston. Brooklyn won in 5 games. Famous Kyrie stepping on Lucky the Leprechaun's head, stomping. I don't know what he was doing here, but hey, if it was the shoe on the other foot, so to speak, we have Jason Tatum running up and jumping all over the Brooklyn ball. I think the Boston Garden would be chanting and screaming and cheering. So that's my Boston accent. It's pretty bad, but you got what I'm saying. I
Better,
don't know.
better than what I got. No, I mean it's all basketball. I know Kyrie. Like I don't know Kyrie, but he's into a lot of like spiritual and different things
Hmm.
like that. So I
Hmm.
wonder if it's kind of almost like a cleansing thing. I wonder if that was like his way to be like he's a weird dude in that sense. Like the things that
He
he
is an
does,
interesting cat.
and I feel like that to him was like there was something that represented to him. I don't think he was trying to disrespect fans. I think like he was doing that for himself. I don't think he was doing that because people were watching.
Adam Silver said no more incense. He said just stump on Lucky. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
That's what you're reporting?
I
Okay.
do wonder
Okay.
if it's kind of
Uh,
like a let's get this out of the past. That he's a weird dude, man. I wouldn't put it past him that that's what he was like, where his headspace was at. That
I
doesn't
didn't see any comments by him on it either. We'll have to do some digging on that and see what he says.
because he
But
did. You know what I mean? Like you don't step on that, and he didn't like look around and be like, "What?" You know what I mean? Like typically, if you do that, he just like it's almost like he just quickly went over, stepped on it for himself, and then walked off the court.
yeah, and there was no one around.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you're
it
probably
was it
right.
was
That
a
it
it
was
was a
probably something
mentality thing for
internal.
him that he is like he had to do something, and whatever
Yeah.
that's on him. But I don't think it was like a disrespect to the Celtics. It was something he had to do.
Yeah, and I guess the last bit of news that we had with this series here before we jump into the preview with Brooklyn versus Milwaukee, Danny Ainge has stepped down as the president of basketball operations. Danny, don't make a trade, Ainge. Now moving in with good looking Good shooting. I don't know where we're going with this. But good looking, good shooting. Brad Stevens moving in as the president of basketball operations. He's stepping down as coach up into the big suites. No longer going to be having the clipboard in his hand, but he's going to be having that cell phone making calls.
Yeah.
It's a good move by the Celts. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I'm sure Danny was just ready to retire, and Brad
I think
Stevens
so.
has done a great job coaching the Celtics and continually always getting them to the playoffs. And it's time for him to make the step up and see as he does as a basketball operations manager. So I wish him all the best.
Yeah, I think as well. I think it was about 8 years with Ainge in the office, so I think it was time probably for them to kind of make a move, try something new. I've been hearing some interesting trades that could potentially be coming. Don't think they'll be coming. We'll chat about that a little bit later when we get to an upset Damian Lillard. But here we go. We've got our Brooklyn Nets. We just had our first game of the series. They're up 1-0 against the Bucks. It was 105-107 to end that last game. James Harden went down. He did something with his hamstring, his right hamstring, according to Shams Charania. And so now we've got
that's
them
how
up
you have
one
to say
nothing.
it every time now.
That really is. I'm just doing it every time now. So I guess my question to you is: Nets up 1-0. Can the Nets win without James Harden if he's out for the rest of the series or out for the season? I don't know. There hasn't been too much on this. This just happened. Do you think the Bucks bounce back? Do you think the Nets got it? What's your thoughts?
So they lost by 8. The
Yeah.
Bucks did. Milwaukee outscored them in the first, and really you can see the game. They lost in the third. They got outscored by a little bit there, but pretty much matched them every other quarter. I think James Harden is the most plus minus. He's the most positive net player for the Nets, so he's definitely a big loss if he's going to be out for a while. Tonight we saw that really the reason Milwaukee didn't keep in was unfortunately free throws, which is kind of embarrassing, but it does happen, and especially Giannis has proven over and over that he's not the best free throw shooter.
Yes.
If James Harden is out for the whole series, the Bucks should take care of business. I mean, you can't throw, and that's what I was talking to some guys I was playing basketball with today. You really can't throw Brooklyn out of it because they have 3 superstars.
Yeah.
Well,
now they're down to 2 potentially.
But still, two very capable superstars.
Or are you counting Blake Griffin now as a superstar
yeah.
after this last
former
game?
superstar? I'd say, hey, after he played tonight, you got to count him an all-star.
18-12.
18-12 is no joke. But you just can't count the Nets out because they have such offensive firepower. But the Bucks should be able to take care of business if James Harden is out.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. You're right. So they were 11-19 from the foul line, so 58%, and then 6 of 30 from downtown. The Bucks. I can't imagine they shoot that poorly in game 2. I mean, Brooklyn's crowd is not that energetic. It's not really like they're playing in a hostile environment. If they bounce back here, make some adjustments, I think we can see a tie series going into Milwaukee, and I think that suits the Bucks well. That being said, they've got Kevin Durant. I feel like every time Kevin Durant plays, his team goes to the finals, right? So that's kind of where I'm still leaning. I'm still leaning Brooklyn, even with James Harden down. If Embiid is down too, that could really open up the road to the finals for the Nets. I think the Nets will win this in 5 games. We'll see if I'm wrong. 5 games, I know. I'm feeling a little spicy with that. I know it's our hot take, ladies and gentlemen. Nets in 5, even with James Harden down. Where are you going?
I had Brooklyn in 7. Again, this is post injury now potentially.
Yeah. Pre-injury, you mean, right?
Pre-injury. Yeah. Pre-injury, I had Brooklyn in 7. If James Harden's only out for a game or 2, Brooklyn should be able to take care of it. If he's out the whole time, man, James Harden is his next level. He's
extremely good.
He's a great playmaker. He kind of gets everything going. And the Bucks, I think the Bucks will win if James Harden's out for the whole series, but we'll see. Time will tell.
So you would say Bucks in 7 preliminarily if he's out?
If Harden is out, I'd say this is going to go to a game 7 no matter what.
Yeah. I really like the Nets. I don't know what it is. I love how Durant plays, and I think they're just so good with him, right? So that's why I'm leaning that way. I'm probably a little too into them right now at this stage. Let's be honest.
It'll be a fun series. Definitely keep your eyes up for this one. That's going to be a fun series for sure. Now,
Mhm.
I know you had who will win the East here as our last question. Um, I had Philly. Obviously, this Joel Embiid news is scary. I do think
Certainly, for sure.
Philly will get to the conference finals if they're up against Brooklyn full power. I think Brooklyn wins without Joel Embiid, but if Joel Embiid's back, I think the 76ers take it. Jump into the West. We got some fun stuff going on over there. We're still got one more game for Dallas and the Clippers. If you haven't been watching basketball or you're not a huge fan of basketball, I encourage you to watch this because these are what basketball is all about and very much could promote an addiction for you for the rest of your life into basketball because it is fun to watch. My goodness.
Hmm.
There's some, like where Kawhi Leonard is being Kawhi Leonard. First couple of games he was pretty quiet, and now he's basically pulling out his as many people have speculated that he's a robot. The guy's shooting very efficiently. It's quite scary how efficient this man is shooting. I think the last game was at 17 of 25 with 45 points.
I believe it was that exactly. That's right.
And some dangerous back-to-back threes. He's just once he gets into robot mode, it's all over. Terminator mode turns on and
Robot mode.
that's true. He's
Yeah.
he's a perfect build through the Spurs. I know he's not there anymore, but that's what the Spurs build. They have for a long time. They build emotionalist warriors who just get it done, and it's crazy. So yeah, it's going to be a battle. Luka has been killing it. He's been putting up a lot. He's been scoring roughly about 60 to 70% of his team's points per games. So the only way Dallas is going to win Game 7 is literally by having some of Porzingis needs to have more than a double-digit game. I think he's had one in the series.
Oh, Porzingis has been such a disappointment this series. Honestly.
And there's not really anybody guarding him that's like super tough. Like
No,
he needs to have a big
really
game.
tough to watch.
Yeah. He needs to have a big game, and Porzingis has shown that he can. He's done well before. He's played last couple years. He's done well. So maybe he's just in his own head. So let's hope he comes out and plays. Luka, and this is a cool stat that I found out today, has 4 career 40-point playoffs games. So and just so everybody knows, this is the first time he's played 11 career playoff games, and he already has 4 career 40-point playoff games. That's the same as Melo, Duncan, Dame, Kawhi, Karl Malone had in their careers.
Wow. And he's 11 games into his career.
And 22 years old.
My God. Yeah, he is phenomenal. I think just one thing before we keep going on here. I got to say, like, the ball is in his hand every single time down the floor. And no matter what the Clippers are throwing at him, doubles, hedges off screens, the way they're playing him, and he's still figuring out a way to score or pass the ball to get a score. It is phenomenal. And he's injured and he's hurt his neck. Like, to me, like, to have a superstar, that is a superstar. You look at someone like him and you can't help but think that he's going to be the face of the league for years to come. When you think of someone like Dame that has played, could you imagine if he had a pairing like someone like Luka or had someone that could actually help him, so to speak? My God. And if Porzingis is playing like this and they're still in this series, and unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
Yep.
My man crush, if you can tell.
Hey, he's got great hair too. You gotta give him props.
Good looking dude.
It's gonna be a great Game 7. Make sure you watch it. Who you got, Phil? Who's winning it?
I picked the Clippers to win this. My brain says Clipper, my heart says Luka. It's just a divide. It's killing me. I gotta go Luka. I want my heart to win.
I want Dallas to win too. I do think somebody else has to step up though for it to happen. If nobody else steps up on the team, it's not going to happen. And I just want to see the Clippers blow up. I just want to see the Clippers.
Oh, me too. Me too. I don't know what it is, but like everybody hates the Clippers, and I kind of love it. I kind of love it. Personally.
I don't know if I hate the Clippers. I just am mad that Kawhi.
But everybody wants to see them lose. Everybody wants to see them.
I have my personal vendetta against Kawhi for leaving the Raptors, and I appreciate that he won us a championship. And I'm not. There's no angst against him, but I don't want to see him succeed either. That's like it's because we could have run it back. So either or, I kind of hope they lose because he's a free agent, and then. We'll see what happens there because the Clippers will probably blow up if they don't make it out of the first round.
Yeah, well said.
Now on to our next series. So we're gonna have Jazz. They they beat the Memphis, and it was a gentleman's sweep 4-1. Memphis, congrats! You had a great
I
postseason.
believe what's actually referred to as a douchebag sweep, where they let them win the first game and then they go 4-0.
Is that what it is? Okay. Well, there you
Yeah.
have it. I did not know that, so we're adding some new terminology into my life. But yeah,
Not
no,
a good terminology for you to know, but I believe that's what it's referred to as.
Makes sense. It's kind of,
Yeah.
it's kind of it's exactly what
It,
you
it
just
fits.
said.
It fits, right?
100%, man. No, it was great. Good job by Memphis. They played well. Great future in store for them. Great. But yeah, Utah's waiting to see who they're up against. And I know, Jazz are well rested. Either they match up against the Clippers or Dallas. And who do you have winning that one? If either or.
Either or. Well, yeah, I think that's the debate, right? I feel like even though the Jazz are the number one seed, I could see either Dallas or the Clippers being favored in this series. I think the Jazz are really good, uh, but I would have to probably go with whoever wins this game tomorrow on Sunday. Dallas versus the Clippers. I
Yeah.
feel like that team could potentially beat the Jazz.
Utah
I don't know your thoughts.
is built to beat Denver.
Yes.
They're built to beat the Lakers. They're built to beat Philadelphia, having the defensive player of the year in Rudy Gobert. They got a killer in Donovan Mitchell. They're really well favored against pretty much every team in the league, except I would say they don't match up well against the Clippers or Dallas.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel, right? Because they have a really good center and they have a really good point guard. Well, I guess the Jazz have obviously they've got Mike Conley and they've got Donovan Mitchell, but I don't think they have a Luka stopper, and I don't think they have a Kawhi stopper.
No.
And I think that's where I think Dallas as well as Los Angeles has the advantage in those players, and those are their main players. So I think you hit the nail on the head. They're built to play those other teams. They're not necessarily built to beat these teams. That's why I think Dallas or Los Angeles could actually beat the Jazz.
Yep. Yeah, I think so. I had Dallas in 7. I have a
You had
lot of
Dallas in
game
7 if they
sevens
play?
because I and probably went too hard on the game sevens, but I just think there's some really good teams out there.
There is. And Utah has the altitude advantage too, right? I think that's got to play a factor in as well when you think about it. When you think of Denver and Utah, they have altitude. So there is a bit of an advantage to their home court even more. I think it'll be an interesting series. I think all these series are fantastic. Basketball, I think we were talking about it last night where you were saying you can really see the next generation is here. There's no LeBron. I think you should talk about this because this was your point last night. I think you really spoke well about it.
Yeah, I mean you're seeing basically your 30-year-old plus superstars not making it past the first round for the first time in a long time. You look at Golden State. They didn't even make it into the playoffs when Memphis beat them. Memphis shouldn't have beat them. I understand the Warriors were down and they were beaten up, but technically the Warriors should have been able to get squeezed in the 8th. You potentially have the Clippers being gone. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, both in their 30s, going to be potentially swept out. Not swept out, but taken out. Denver versus Portland. You got Dame Lillard, Nikola, now a young 20-year-old, taken out. Lakers versus Phoenix. Chris Paul is older, but let's be honest, it's Devin Booker's team. Chris Paul's the floor general, but it is Devin Booker's team, and now the Lakers are gone. It's gonna be fun. It's
even you can say Westbrook too, right? Westbrook is gone too. Another big star name that's in their 30s. The only one that's really left would be Durant, right?
Yeah,
I feel like
and
Durant's
he's on
name.
he's on a superstar team. Though. So
yes,
it's kind of expected.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If any of the teams I just mentioned were on the same type of superstar team, I don't think they would have left in the first round.
100%.
So yeah, it's quite interesting to see this next generation step up, and there's a lot of good players to come. The future of NBA basketball is in great hands. I also think though a lot of these older teams that have been swept were unhealthy. And a lot of these guys are still very, very talented. We're seeing a lot of NBA superstars being able to play into the late 30s and play very well. So I don't think these teams are going anywhere. I just think that the playoffs are going to get more exciting every year because the new generation is here. So now it's just going to be a battle. Your top 8 seeds on both sides are going to be fighting because the next generation is here and ready to play. And the old generation's just we're still good too. So it's going to be fun. Basketball's in some good hands, but let's jump on. We got a couple more to cover here before we wrap this up. We got the Suns Lakers. We know that is now over. Suns won 4-2. Dennis Schroeder, we kind of covered that already. So I'm not even, the Lakers got a lot of things they have to restructure. They're not, they didn't show up. They weren't healthy all season. I'm not going to make excuses for them. Their role players aren't very good. There's a lot of role players coming in free agency. The Lakers need to do some big offseason moving. Denver, Portland. Portland lost. Denver 4-2. Denver was without their starting point guard, Jamal Murray. Portland really should have wrapped that up. And immediately after they lost, the next day, Terry Stotts, their head coach, was removed. Mutual parting ways. It's time to, Portland saying, let's try to blow this up. Let's do something else. And Dame was even saying himself, it's sad to see, but he's like, we can't even beat a team without their second best scorer. You could even say first best scorer. So you're going to see some movement in Portland. I do feel bad for Terry Stotts. I was looking it up. 9 years as the head coach.
Wow. Almost a decade.
His first year was with Dame, and that was the first year Dame won Rookie of the Year. And for 9 years, they didn't make the playoffs the first year. That was Dame's first year in. The next 8 years, they made a playoff. So it is kind of weird. I was looking into that. I understand you got to blame it on someone, but I don't think it's the coach's fault at this point. It's the team around them. If you get your team to the playoffs 9 out of 8 years, and the only reason you didn't make it the first year is because your superstar was a rookie. The Blazers had a ton of injuries with superstars, when, you know what I mean? They had a lot of trouble. I don't think that's a coach's fault. I think that's a GM not putting the right team together. But Terry Stotts is going to be picked up by someone, and they're going to very much appreciate it.
I tend to agree. Well, you think because Dame was a high draft pick, I think he was drafted in the top 10. So obviously they weren't very good the year before. So then for them to make 8 years in a row, make the playoffs, that's pretty impressive. I think the last 5 or 6 years, they were first round exits. I think 4 out of those years. So there were quite a few times where they did come up short. I think the question is, where do they go from here? Do they trade CJ McCollum? One trade that I heard that was kind of interesting is obviously, what if they decide to trade Dame? If they decide to trade Dame, I was listening to, I believe it was Simmons' podcast today, and they were saying, what if they trade Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard? That's an interesting trade, because a younger guy could be a little bit more interesting that way, but it's going to be really tough for the Blazers to make any moves. I don't know. We'll see, right?
They've been saying that he's out to pick the next head coach. I think Dame is going to be retiring a Blazer. I hope so. I don't think he's planning to go anywhere, and it would be silly for Portland to offshoot him. I think you're looking at a Norman Powell, a CJ McCollum, a Joseph Nurkic. You've got some other pieces that are going to move. I don't think Dame's going anywhere.
His brand is Portland, right? His brand is, I'm here, I'm tough. Paul George, you're a wimp for leaving. You suck. Bye. Go.
Yeah,
this is my place. This is Portland. I don't think he's going anywhere either. I hope he's not. To be honest.
He won't. They'd be silly to let a guy like that go, who's super dedicated and shows up every year to play ball. He's not going anywhere unless he chooses to go somewhere, and I don't think he will.
That's
right.
So
either or, past that, I've talked a lot about them. I was a huge Blazers fan. I was hoping that they did well. Sad to see them not make it up. But now we're on to the next part of it, and I was wrong about Portland and Lakers, so it's going to be a Denver Suns matchup, and this is our last talk here. It's going to be fun. You got a lot of young players. They're going to be battling. I do think, again, with the weakness of point guard at Denver, although their guys did step up. Austin Rivers, I don't even know. He's crazy. Denver's guards.
Anyone could have had him. Anyone could have had Austin Rivers, and the Nuggets picked him up, and he's been performing.
Denver's guards have been playing really well, and I mean they matched up against a CJ McCollum and Dame Lillard backcourt. So that's not an easy backcourt to play against, and it's gonna be fun. What's your thoughts on that series?
Well, I think your comments earlier about the future generation. This is a future generation kind of matchup, minus obviously Chris Paul. But I guess my question for you is, Chris Paul and Devin Booker, is that better than a CJ and Damian Lillard backcourt? Do you think that the Nuggets can hold their own against a Booker and Paul backcourt in comparison? Dame and CJ are really good, but I think Booker and Paul are a little better. Do you think similar, or what's your thoughts?
I would say better in the sense of CJ McCollum and Dame are very similar players.
Yeah, there's scores, right?
Yeah,
They're more
where Chris
scores.
Paul is a floor general, and I would say
Yep.
Dame can be a floor general, but he's never had a team around him to have to like to be a floor general, so he's had to score. So
Hmm.
I would say yeah, the Paul Booker is much better because they complement each other. Where it's more like iso ball in Portland, like okay, CJ, you do your thing, and then next time down the floor, I'll do my thing.
Right.
So yeah,
Turns.
I do think having the ball in Chris Paul's hand, and he's going to be up against some point guards who don't have the IQ. And Chris Paul, I guarantee you, is studying this game and every single player and getting all the stats. That's just who he is. He's gonna be breaking down the weaknesses of these players because he's a little bit older, so he has to be smarter, and he is a smart guy already. It's gonna be fun, man. He's yeah,
I think this will be a really good series.
Yep. It's gonna be fun, and I don't think Denver matches up really well. I obviously I had the Lakers in 6, so that's against Portland, so I'm very wrong with those picks. So now I'm gonna have to say I would probably take Phoenix here though. I think they've shown that they're here to play.
I, this is another head and heart. I think head Phoenix Suns, heart Denver Nuggets. I love Jokic. I would love to see them win. I'm gonna say Nuggets in 6. I'm gonna say Nuggets in 6 with this
Nuggets
one.
in 6. Okay, all right. We differ on our opinions, and that's okay. You're allowed to have wrong opinions, Phil.
I know those right opinions will get you every time, Luke. They'll get you every time, buddy.
So that is our show. It's been a blast. These playoffs are going to be more and more fun as we're ramping up and getting closer. Who you got? Who you got winning? I'd love to know who you think are going to take this next series. Who's going to win the NBA playoffs? Shoot us some comments, and we'll be back next week for episode 12 and prime and ready. Phil, any final remarks?
Just a little pat on the back, or a little pat on the back to technology. My AirPods lasted the whole episode. I'm so
Woo!
happy. I'm
Woo!
so happy.
Good job,
But thank
AirPods.
you for listening. Thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate it.
It's been a blast, and yeah, we'll catch you all next week. Peace.
Ciao.